Shalom. This is Avraham Shira for Patreon and Nar Shalom. Welcome to our Erev Shabbat talk. Today's little class is about graceful receiving. Now, it's something that you might think is not that important, or it's something that's, okay, they do it when you go to the king or you walk into a palace, but it's not so simple. That really receiving gracefully is a gift, it's a skill, and it's even a mitzvah. Because receiving gracefully is part of a symbiotic relationship of sharing from God to ourselves and giving back to the world, and then receiving from the world and giving it back to Hashem. So there's a whole energy flow that happens between when we receive something from Hashem and we give it to the world. And the world gives back to us and tells you how great you are. And then God takes that and does what he does with it. And you see, so it's quite a complex flow of energy from heaven to earth, and then through the human consciousness, and then back to heaven. And this we can see, of course, in the practice of receiving Shabbat. Receiving Shabbat is about receiving a gift. It's not something that I'm getting my paycheck at the end of the week. It's not that I'm waiting for the numbers to roll up in my bank account at the end of the month. Receiving Shabbat is a moment of reality. It's a moment of transformation of the entire creation. Because God rested on the seventh day. That means he stopped creating new things other than what he had already created. And so we are stopping the creative process to experience what we have created. And there's a certain grace in experiencing what you have created. Imagine that you're an artist and you walk into a museum, and there's your painting on the wall of the museum. How are you going to react? Are you going to act critically and start looking at the painting for all the things you didn't like? Are you going to start dancing and praising yourself because, look, my painting's in the National Museum of Art? Are you going to stare like you don't care? Are you going to walk away and say, I've seen that painting before. I spent too many months with that painting. I'm done with it. See, all those responses have to do with the graceful reception of something greater than ourselves. Now, honor is something that's really greater than ourselves. When you get an honor, it's people are telling you you're great. And Jews always answer, my Rebbe Uri, always answered when people would say, Mashlom kavodo, how is your honor? That's a standard Hebrew discourse, if you will. Mashlom kavodo. And he would always say, kavodo malei olam. When I would ask about his glory, he would say, God's glory fills the world. So he would deflect the praise. And deflecting that praise is an act of grace. And so when we receive the Shabbat this evening in a few hours, there is this opportunity to respond and to reflect the grace back to God. Now, why do I need to do that? Well, when I first started learning in the Yeshiva Mekubalim, and I was learning about the Kavanot, I was saying, okay, I'll do this Kavana and I'll receive some light from God. Wonderful. And, it got clear to me very rapidly that was a pretty immature approach. To do the Torah and then to learn the Kabbalah about the Torah and the meditations and the unifications of God's name and the additions of the soul and the layers of reality that are coming together, and to be looking for my reward is a rather immature response. But rather, the mature act of receiving, whether it's your Shabbos soul on Friday evening, or it's a gift of somebody sent you in the mail, or if they tell you they want to use your picture at the entrance to the museum, there's a proper way to respond. And of course, that involves humility, but it's not false humility. It's like, no, oh, it's not, oh, no, I'm not worth this. Oh, it just shouldn't have, oh, you shouldn't have, oh. No, that's not grace, and that's not humility. That's a little false humility. It's not a terrible thing, but it's something that is hiding something else. And it's hiding my awareness of the relationship, the true relationship with God, that He wants to give us the Shabbat. And He wants us to learn how to receive it properly. Now, I've been reading here in the Zohar and from Rabbi Chaim Vital about this, and the 2 points, important points in the davening, Erev Shabbat, as we go into the evening prayer. One is when we answer Baruch Hu, the Shliach Tzibur, the prayer leader says, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, right? God, may God be blessed. And then the whole community answers, Baruch Shem Kavod, Baruch Le'olam Va'ed, right? So this distinction is one where we stand to receive a part of our Shabbos soul. Now there's 5 levels of the soul, and each moment of the prayer we answer a piece of that davening with the kavana that we're receiving the new nefesh of the soul, and then the ruach of Shabbat, and then the neshama of Shabbat. Now each one of those we stand. Why? Well, because it is appropriate and graceful to stand when you receive something. And let's say you're sitting in your living room and somebody comes in. You're receiving them in your house. Do you just stand there? You just sit on your dining room table and say, oh, come on in, come on in. Or do you stand up to greet them? Now clearly, to stand up to greet someone is a more honorable thing to do. And so too, when we're receiving a spark of our holy Shabbos soul, we want to stand to receive it. Now, I'm not looking to receive. Understand the distinction. This is a very fine line. But this is exactly the fine line that the Kabbalah wants to take us through. That when I stand to receive the Shabbos soul, I'm not looking for a new high. I'm not looking for a buzz on God. I'm not looking for my brain to suddenly expand. What I'm acknowledging is that it is happening on its own. And God will give what God will give. And usually what you receive, when you receive these aspects of your soul, Erev Shabbat, are new levels of self-awareness, new levels of insight, of introspection, of the ability to see myself more clearly, to see where I was before Shabbat, on Shabbat, helps me appreciate the higher soul that is inside me that comes out on Shabbat. So you receive pieces of yourself that actually understand yourself better. It's not that I'm looking to get high on the universe. It's not that I'm looking to suddenly be something I'm not. Rather, when you receive the new nefesh of Shabbat, you're receiving an ability to monitor your own systems. And when you receive a new ruach on Shabbat, you're receiving a new ability to examine and to look at your feelings. And when you receive the new neshama on Shabbat, you're receiving a new ability to look at your own thinking. Okay, so this is a critical distinction that we need to understand, and because we want to keep Shabbat, we want to take a day of rest with God. What a better thing can you have? A day of rest with God. I think we need like more than one day a week rest with God. But really, the idea is that by receiving the rest, I receive the time and the space to examine myself with this new soul power, this new insight, and the ability to achieve insight. So we stand at Baruch at Adonai Avraham, and we also stand Ufros alai at Sukkot Shlomecha, and when we spread out the sukkah of your peace upon me, that's in the evening davening as well. This action is to be done standing up as an acknowledgement of its happening. You understand? I'm acknowledging that this thing is happening. I'm not looking to receive like a child looking for candy. And this is an important state, a transition in spiritual maturity that anybody who wants to learn the secrets of the Torah, somebody who wants to know the inner workings of their own soul and their relationship with God, they're going to need these powers of distinction. And if you do it properly, you'll know it. You'll feel the difference. You'll see yourself thinking differently, feeling differently, and your body responding differently on Shabbat. At the meal, you'll see that you'll eat more peacefully. You won't attack the food. How's that? You won't want more and more. But rather, a little is also enough. And you can actually sense the Kedusha in the food by eating less. And the same thing when you pray. Even when you walk in the street on Shabbat, you should feel your body not wanting to hurry. And my emotions and my heart should be not wanting to run ahead. Like so many people seem to have this, anytime I have to be somewhere, I have to be first. That's... I remember that from third grade, running to the lunchroom. Come on, folks. I don't think we're in third grade anymore. And so to even our thinking, and this is a high level that we touch on in our meditation series, and it's a practice that we all really need, is to catch my mind running and to stop the running of the mind. I don't have to run anywhere. I need to move with the pace of Shabbat and the pace of grace. That's pretty nice, right? The pace of grace, of gracefulness in all the things that I do on Shabbat. And that's indicative of peace. And that's a sign of the upper soul coming into the person for Shabbat. Now the Rav gives us an interesting thing here, that if a person doesn't make it to the synagogue on Shabbat, and to have this moment of receiving the upper souls on Fros Chavivi Alai, the Fros Sukkot Shalom, the Fros, and the receiving of the extra soul at Baruch, etc. These moments that they're in the Siddur of the Sfardim that's marked out according to the Kabbalah, not all the Siddurim are going to have it. If you're interested in the exact places, I can write them down for you in a letter or put them on our email or our website. But the Rav writes here, and it's from the Shulchan Aruch, he brings down that if you don't make it, you can say a phrase from Rabbi Akiva. And it says, Amar Rabbi Akiva, Haya achat omeret berakia Shema Yisrael. Now we're getting a braita, a piece of Torah that was left outside the actual Mishnah. And it says that Rabbi Akiva saw standing in the firmament. Now what that teaches us is that Rabbi Akiva was having a transcendental moment. A moment of deep inspiration where the Shemayim opened and he saw an angel standing in heaven. And he saw that the angel's name was Israel. Now there are many, 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 many uncountable angels, and they all have names, just like the stars have names. V'hakuk al mitzcha Yisrael, and it was written on his forehead the name Yisrael. It's like his name tag, right? Go into a convention, here's your name tag. Well, in heaven it's a convention of angels, and they have their name tags. And he's standing there and he says, Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. The very phrase that we use when we answer this prayer leader in davening on Friday night. But here we see the angels saying it in heaven, and Rabbi Akiva merits to see it. Now, why is Rabbi Akiva meriting it to see it? Well, of course, because of his elevated soul and the self-service sacrifice that he practiced in his avodat Hashem, but also because God was giving it to him because he knew Rabbi Akiva would give it over to others and teach with others. So it's one of the secrets of having spiritual experience and feeling close to Hashem and doing God's will is that when you want to teach with a pure heart, God will give you what he wants you to teach. And that's a good thing. And then the Braita goes on, V'kol gedudei mala onim v'omrim, and all the collections of angels above answer and speak, Baruch Adonai HaMavorach le'olam va'ed, blessed is God who is blessed forever and ever. So you see, you have this chorus going on in heaven. And Rabbi Akiva is seeing it. But the point that they're bringing the Braita here is that we're told that the angels are standing. And therefore, another reason why we stand when we answer Baruch Hu. Now, I was even told that, in some communities, when they say Baruch Hu and they say answer the Baruch Hu, they just kind of lower their head. They get up off their chair about a centimeter, a little bit. And I was told that, and it's from a Hasidic Rebbe, I don't know who, that we should stand up completely to receive the blessing completely. So, there's customs, and the customs are worked out according to each community, but we have free choice to join in how we wish. So when you stand to receive that Shabbos soul tonight, do so as if you are really receiving the most tremendous gift. And you don't need to look inside the box. You never notice that someone gives you something and someone hands you a check, you got to check how much it is. No, you don't. You just receive it gracefully and put it in your pocket. And so too, just receive the Shabbat soul gracefully. Don't look around for, the signs of my spiritual elevation. They'll come on their own. Just as we said, that the real spiritual elevation is the power of deeper insight into our bodies and our feelings and our thoughts. Right? That's really what we need, to see ourselves better and better and better, because the more we learn about ourselves, folks, the more we learn about God. We are made in his image. Self-knowledge leads to godly knowledge. And remember that. Repeat it. When you know yourself better and you can honestly face yourself in the mirror, then you're more capable of facing your Creator and the entire universe. And you know what? You gain more confidence. Because you see, the world honors our truthfulness. And the world wants each of us to be true to each other. When you know that somebody's false, it's like, you kind of pull away from them. You don't want to be near them because you don't know what you're getting. And that's true in relationships, it's true in business, it's true in sports. Wherever you are, we really want honest people. Now, unfortunately, there's a certain amount of people that are they have a serial problem with not being honest. They're always looking to take advantage, and so that drives them into a position of dishonesty because they want to take advantage. And that's because they don't have faith that they're going to get what they need to get from God, and that their soul has everything they need. And we have to know this. Whatever you feel like you're lacking, right this moment you're not lacking it because you're here learning Torah, or you're here getting ready for Shabbat, and you have what you need for now. And what you need for later, you'll get later. And when you have that kind of faith, you can always be true because you don't have to worry about getting something that I might not get, which is one of the driving forces of dishonesty. This lack of faith in that I'll get what I need to make it in this world. And when I can get over that, I can receive the Shabbat with a whole heart. I can receive the world with a whole heart. I can receive my friends and my family and a complete stranger with no fears and no suspicions. But I do have filters. I do have antenna. I do sense when something else feels not real to me. And I honor that feeling too. And I could say, I think I'm going to pass on this business deal. I think I'm going to pass on this relationship. If people are repeatedly dishonest with you, the goal is not to make them honest. The goal is to pull away and let them learn their lessons on their own. And so Shabbat, the receiving of Shabbat, the gracefulness of receiving God's gifts, is a process of learning how to receive the world. And that includes the human race, that includes the world around us, the natural world, even animals, even when, stray dogs are running around the neighborhood, or cats are jumping under the porch when they see me come outside, And I'm like, well, why are they running from me? They're afraid. Why are they afraid? Well, maybe I've done something to cause them fear. Or maybe they're just afraid of human beings. But that doesn't mean that I want to project that energy onto them. No, I want to project the energy of acceptance and honor and the gracefulness that God has bestowed upon us. And Shabbat is the ultimate example of that. So tonight at Shul, have these ideas in mind and stand and receive the gift of your true self. And that is the greatest gift you can ever receive. So Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Look forward to seeing you again this coming week on Patreon, on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube and our website. New things are coming out all the time. We have some new poems coming out and essays. And, God is endless, so the work is endless. Thank God. Shabbat Shalom.